Today's decision makes one thing clear. LeBron James is sending a message that he wants to spend his 24th and maybe 25th season in Philly, convinced the 76ers give him his best shot at another championship ring. My phone is blowing up. People are absolutely stunned by this LeBron James decision because when you look at that starting five, they are easily going to be one of the most formidable lineups in the entire NBA. The decision is finally in. LeBron James is officially a Philadelphia 76er. Honestly, I don't think anyone has fully wrapped their head around how violently this shakes up the Eastern Conference. For him to choose the Philadelphia 76ers is the absolute shocker of all shockers. So, here is how we break this down. There are a few huge reasons this move is way smarter than it looks, but there is still one glaring issue that could blow this entire plan to pieces. And no, it has absolutely nothing to do with LeBron's age. We will unpack it all, the contract, why he chose Philly, whether these stars can actually coexist, and what Vegas is quietly telling us about this team's real championship ceiling. I actually analyzed this exact 76ers roster before LeBron ever even picked up his phone. So I am not here just to react to a headline. I want to show you what changed the second his name was added and whether it is actually enough. Just a few months ago, Philly looked completely stuck. Their postseason died in a brutal second-round sweep at the hands of the New York Knicks, and it was agonizing to watch opposing fans invade their arena and party right on Philly's home court. Honestly, their future did not look much brighter. Joe Embiid and Paul George were locked into massive contracts, which left the front office with almost zero room to improve. You could see their hard ceiling from a mile away. Just another solid regular season. Another few months of praying everyone stays healthy, followed by yet another early playoff exit. Then everything shifted. It started when Philly shipped Paul George to the Celtics for Jaylen Brown, the massive trade that set the dominoes in motion. Then LeBron James, the league's all-time leading scorer, a 4-time champion, 22-time All-Star, and 20-time All-NBA selection, chose Philadelphia. He announced he was signing a 2-year, $8 million contract, taking the veteran minimum for a player with his legendary service time. In his own words, I believe I can make the Philadelphia 76ers a championship team, and I am so excited to energize a new fan base and start this incredible journey one last time. That signing officially closed the book on his 8-year run with the Lakers, a stretch that delivered the 2020 championship, a trip to the Western Conference Finals, and that historic night he passed Kareem to become the league's all-time leading scorer. And even heading into his 24th season, he is still producing at a level that defies all biological logic. Last season, playing a secondary role alongside Luka, he averaged 20.9 points, 7.2 assists, and 6.1 rebounds, shooting 51.5%, keeping alive his streak of averaging at least 20 a game in every single season of his career. Insiders say his ultimate decision came down to one single question: where do I have the absolute best shot at winning another ring? His answer was Philly. At this stage of his legendary career, that is exactly what real happiness looks like. A genuine opportunity to compete for a title, and he is fully convinced the 76ers give him that. The timing on this is just wild. In just over 2 months, Philly hired Mike Gansey to run the front office and completely transformed their entire franchise trajectory. A team that seemed capped out, stuck with the 22nd pick and barely any trade assets, somehow built one of the deepest, most dangerous squads in basketball, and landing LeBron was the final touch nobody expected. So, how did they pull this off? They recruited relentlessly and stayed patient while waiting for the market's biggest dominoes to drop, keeping themselves poised until the right window finally cracked open. According to league insiders, Philly won LeBron over by selling him on the one thing he wanted most, the cleanest path to a 5th ring. That vision was enough for him to sign a 2-year, $8 million deal with a 2nd-year player option, leaving massive money on the table to chase one last ring. On paper, the fit is absolutely seamless. A lineup built around Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, and VJ Edgecombe. Plus, LeBron has the potential to become the most lethal offense in the entire NBA. Each star brings a unique element that fits together perfectly. This roster is finally deep enough to survive those tough stretches when Joel Embiid is sidelined. Constructing this team happened in key phases. It started quietly by adding defensive-minded depth like Dean Wade, the type of low-key signing that barely makes a ripple. Then came the real blockbuster trade for Jaylen Brown, giving the Sixers another elite All-NBA caliber star. They traded for Anthony Simons to add instant scoring punch. And they just added KCP on a one-year $3.9 million deal for lethal shooting and perimeter defense. That last pickup might have flown under the radar, but it absolutely matters. KCP is a proven postseason veteran who already won a title alongside LeBron back in the 2020 bubble, giving Coach Nick Nurse a perfect 3-and-D weapon off the bench, even before the big fish landed. This group already looked like a top-tier contender in the Eastern Conference, but the front office was not finished. Word is that Embiid, Maxey, and Jaylen Brown actively recruited LeBron themselves, working the phones throughout free agency. Embiid even promised to report to training camp in the absolute best shape of his life. Once the Jaylen Brown trade was finalized, Philly contacted LeBron's camp with total confidence they had a championship roster capable of closing the deal. And it worked. For a passionate sports town like Philly, a massive signing like this lands on a completely different level. It is one of those historic moments where 20 years from now, fans will ask where they were when LeBron officially became a Sixer. Moments like this have been rare in Philly. The 1983 championship squad, led by Julius Erving and Moses Malone, and Maurice Cheeks remains the ultimate gold standard, winning 65 games and losing just once during that legendary playoff run. Allen Iverson's iconic 2001 Finals run remains one of the most beloved chapters in franchise history. The 2019 roster was easily the most talented group of the entire Joel Embiid era up to that point. Now, the 2026-27 Sixers can join that elite conversation, and honestly, it has been a long time coming. What LeBron gives Embiid goes deeper than star power. He gives this team a massive margin for error. They are no longer living and dying based solely on whether Embiid can survive a grueling postseason run. They are far more versatile, tougher to scout, and a flat-out nightmare to game plan against. Best of all, Philly won't have to rely on a 41-year-old LeBron to carry them through 82 games. With Maxey, Brown, Edgecombe, and Simmons all handling heavy stretches, the Sixers can easily manage his minutes, keeping him fresh for the games that actually matter. But where he truly changes the game is as a playmaker. For all of that talent Philly trotted out last season, generating consistent offense was a massive grind. They finished 29th in the league in assists. Even after losing Luka and playing much of the postseason without a healthy Austin Reeves, the Lakers still finished 6th among playoff teams in assists per game. And that gap is basically just LeBron. There's a reason his usage and assist rates have lived in the 97th percentile or higher for nearly a quarter of a century. Honestly, very few can run a half-court offense like him. Maxey is at his absolute best attacking downhill, not grinding out plays for others on every single possession. Brown, Embiid, and Edgecombe are decent connectors, with each averaging around 4 assists a night last season. But none of those guys bend the defense the way LeBron does. Give him enough spacing and he'll create cleaner looks than they could ever get themselves. That's exactly what Philly was missing. Instead of forcing Maxey to create everything, LeBron can unleash him as a pure scorer. Brown gets easier looks. Embiid sees fewer double teams at the elbow, and everybody eats. None of this clicks overnight, though. With Maxey, Brown, Embiid, and LeBron, you've got several stars who are used to dominating the ball. Nick Nurse has some tough rotation calls ahead, and someone will have to sacrifice. But if any player has spent a career molding his game to fit his teammates, it's LeBron. He's one of the smartest minds to ever play, and few stars have evolved so smoothly over 2 decades. The true test won't come in November. It arrives in April, May, and maybe June. That's when LeBron shifts into another gear. He's the only player in NBA history to average at least 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists at age 35 or older, and he's done it 4 separate times. Even if his scoring efficiency has dipped a bit, his ability to control a playoff game on both ends is still very much there. Make no mistake, the road is brutal. The Knicks are still a powerhouse in the East, and now they're the defending champions. Philly has to go through the very team that swept them and celebrated on their home court. Out west, Oklahoma City and San Antonio are both massive title threats in the West. Nothing about making a deep postseason run is going to be easy. The major difference is that Philadelphia isn't just hanging around the edges of contention hoping to get lucky. But this time around, Philly isn't asking him to pull off a miracle. Unlike those last few years in Los Angeles, he doesn't have to carry the entire load alone. He gets to be the ultimate ceiling raiser for a roster that's already incredibly deep. If it all clicks, they might just be the most dangerous squad in the East. You got to respect the choice too, because picking Philadelphia was easily his boldest move. It wasn't just about getting another ring, but because this path came with the most risk. He walked straight into one of the most demanding fan bases in sports, a passionate city that's waited over 4 decades for an NBA championship. This is a brutal market that dissects every superstar who comes through. A franchise still deeply haunted by the near misses of Embiid, Iverson, and Barkley. And Dr. J Philly does not do empty hype. They demand real results, and they will absolutely let you hear it when those results don't show. Still, easier paths were right there for him. Heading back to Cleveland would have instantly reunited him with a proven contender. Alongside Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, bringing his story full circle just a few miles from Akron, Miami made sense too. Playing for Eric Spoelstra alongside Giannis and Bam would have created an instant contender too. Yet, he looked at all those choices and still chose Philly, a city that's chewed up plenty of stars who couldn't match his raw intensity. That's what makes this so fascinating. And remember, every single stop in his career has ended with a championship. Cleveland, Miami, Los Angeles. The expectation now is for him to do it again here. And that massive weight is exactly why the pressure is so heavy. Retirement was genuinely on the table once his Lakers run ended. He knew he could still compete at an elite level. He had just proven that to everyone. But he wasn't sure he still wanted it all. Another season, the workouts, the conditioning, and the endless daily grind. So he carefully weighed every option. Once the Brown trade cleared, the Sixers became impossible to ignore, whether he knew it right away or only decided recently. He understood exactly what he was signing up for. The ceiling in Philly is probably higher than anywhere else, and the pressure is just as massive. If this works, if Philly finally gets that Broad Street parade, LeBron gets his 5th ring, tying Magic, Kobe, and Tim Duncan, and writes the kind of perfect final chapter you couldn't even script for a career that's already one of the greatest ever. So, how much did that signing move the needle? Vegas answered instantly. Before the offseason got going, Philly opened around plus 6,000 to win the championship. Once that massive Brown trade went through, those championship odds immediately shortened to roughly plus 2,200. Then LeBron officially signed. And within hours, the Sixers surged once more, settling around plus 900 at most sports books, tying the defending champion Knicks for the best odds in the East. They completely leapfrogged Boston and Miami along the way, and according to BetMGM, more money has flooded in on the Sixers to win the East than on any other team since the news broke. Vegas is signaling loud and clear that Philly absolutely belongs in the championship conversation now. So, does this move actually change everything? I really think it does. Just maybe not for the exact reasons everyone is talking about. This roster was already built to compete. LeBron is just a piece that makes them scary. His elite playmaking, his leadership, his veteran ability to control a game when things tighten up late, that gives Philly the one crucial asset they have never had during the Embiid era, and that's stability. And if Embiid actually stays healthy, Their ceiling goes from contender to the team everyone has to beat. The biggest point is that the Sixers don't have to spend another year praying their main guy makes it to June in one piece. They have finally built enough real depth to take a punch and stay standing instead of crumbling the moment things go sideways. For a franchise that's lived through almost every nightmare scenario possible, this is a massive real shift. Now, I want to hear what you think. Are the Sixers suddenly the favorites in the East? Or is there still one glaring flaw keeping them from winning it all? Hit the comments and let me know where you stand. If you enjoyed the breakdown, do me a favor and hit those like and heart buttons. Subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss the next video. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.